All right, so today we are on the west side of the island and got Angelina with me today. We're gonna be working on a few different varieties of trees today. Right now we have a this beautiful plumeria tree right here in the backyard. Yeah, so this is a plumeria tree and we're just removing all of the dead, dying, and diseased limbs inside of it, so you can't really see much of it from right where I'm at. And then we might trim up a little bit of this lower skirt just to kind of keep its shape a little bit better. All right, let's get to it. Yeah, there's a lot of dead wood in this canopy. It's good to have a little bit of light inside the canopy. Not a lot, not enough for sun scaling, aeration, and sunlight's good for the inner canopy, just a little bit. Anytime I find little tips and things that are brown like this, I always remove those because they could have bugs inside of them. Like, oh yeah, like that one has a whole ant colony inside of it. Looks like ants. Yeah, it's all, which is okay. Ants are not necessarily bad, but it does mean that there's probably some kind of a borer beetle or something that made a hole in the tree, and then the ants are there to clean up, actually. So they're kind of like the cleanup crew. So when you see ants inside of a hole in a tree, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad, but it does show that there's signs of other life that was probably living there. Look at this piece. This piece is somehow still alive. It's like completely girdled around this one point. Totally girdled. This whole thing actually has to come out. So I'm gonna clip it right down there. You see this? Just completely eaten out right here around this stem. Pretty interesting how it's still alive though. Hey, you can kind of see the difference already, how it's like a little bit more open, a little bit more light right here, and then it's all dark. See all that dark space? It doesn't really take a whole lot. There's a lot of cutting involved, but most people take way too much. Right here is a sign that there's borer bugs. So there's some kind of borer right here. You can see the frass right there, and then right where he went in. This whole piece is compromised right here. Yeah, look at this. So right there, that inside, the core right there is completely dead, and there's a whole ant colony living in here. So there's definitely a borer bug living inside of this piece. You guys might be wondering, why am I not using a chainsaw for these cuts? And it's because these silky saws actually make much cleaner cuts, especially on trees like this, like flower trees, citrus trees. You want as clean cuts as possible, the least amount of damage. Taking this one out here because it's rubbing. This one right here, it's growing right into these right, and it's also a little bit dead. This could be due to overwatering. A little bit too much water for this tree. Seems like the soil is a bit, I'm assuming the soil's a little wet in this tree. Oh, this whole piece has to come out right. It's all infected. There's borers all up in this piece right here. Yeah, look at that. You can see right here, there's this dark, there's this frass in this little hole. That's from the borer beetle right there. Probably a longhorn borer beetle got inside of this tree. A little bit of storm damage probably happened to it. after the storm damage happened, some bugs probably crawled in there and then infected it. And you know, a lot of times these beetles are vectors, so they'll bring in all kinds of different things, different bacterias, mainly funguses. Even though this thing needs a little bit more pruning, as you can tell, it's still a bit thick up there. We don't want to do that because taking more than 30% per year, you know, you really increase the exposure of all the wounds, so you increase the exposure of all the bugs, because once the bugs move in, then you have to prune more and more until you got to remove the whole tree. That's why we don't prune more than that. You know, there's a lot of reasons why. You also take away the reserves of the tree during summer months, or in temperate climates during the winter. Ooh, this branch looks super unhealthy over here. But even though it looks really unhealthy, even though this one has a bunch of dead, dying, disease stuff, I'm still not going to take all of it, because just like I said, it could hurt the tree more. It's good to do maintenance prunes during the year more than once, instead of one huge prune, you know? Like this, the branch that I just cut would be for the next prune, basically. Like that one is, that's like clearing out the upper canopy. This is just the inner canopy that I've been clearing out today. Just to be clear here, I'm not actually clearing the most upper canopy. This is just all inner canopy clearing. All right, now you guys can kind of see the difference here, how the upper canopy is really cleaned out. All that dead, dying, disease stuff is all clean. Really opened up this canopy much better. On the sheet of paper, I put 20% prune, inner canopy thinning. So it's exactly what we did. We thinned out the inner canopy. Now what I'm going to recommend for the next prune is going to be the outer canopy, and that means that this is including shaping and thinning the exterior of the canopy, but that'll be later, because like I said, we don't want to introduce bugs by pruning too much at once. We don't want to take away the energy reserves of the tree. So you can tell that there is some parts of this tree that could be shaped up and pruned on the outside, but we don't want to do that yet. So that'll be in another 3 to 6 months. Let the tree recover, let it uptake enough water and sunlight, photosynthesis, and then once that happens, we can then prune again. But until then, yeah, we want to wait. It'd even be better to wait up to a year, but we're in Hawaii. Things seem to grow like twice as fast out here, just because our dormant season isn't like a temperate climate, so it's a little different. So anyway, here's another tree right here behind me. This is a plumeria, just another plumeria. It's a little bit smaller, but you can see right here, it'll definitely need the same thing as this other one behind us. And in the inside, there's all this dead wood. You see all these dead pieces all over it. It's dead wood all up in here. Bunch of dead, dying, and diseased stuff. So we're gonna thin it out. Oh yeah, look at this. So you can see the darkening inside of the stem. You know, this is around a bunch of turf grass. The grass is generally watered a lot more than trees are supposed to be watered. So this could be Phytophthora. So could be causing a little bit of root rot. And from that root rot, there is too much water developing around the root flare of the tree, causing a anaerobic environment. So it would be good if this soil in here was probably watered less often, but when it is watered, it's drenched. That way it has time to drain the water back out of the soil, dry up around those roots. So the tree can uptake a lot of water all at once. And that's good for the tree, but constant watering is not good. Right here, there's half of what I'm talking about right there. The other piece, it was just fully brown, and here's half and half. So that's probably due to too much water. You can see the water inside of the vascular tissue. So that's anaerobic. This right here, that's chlorosis, yellowing in the leaves. anaerobic root environment. That's what that is. Yep, same thing again. When you see things continuously while you're pruning, it's a clear indication of what's happening. You can keep affirming, oh, I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. And that is a pretty good indication. This is an abiotic issue. So if this was a biotic issue, most people would look at this and go, oh, this is, you know, just bugs. That's what's going on with it. But really, it all starts with an anaerobic environment. And then from there, it's causing disease up into the plant. Then beetles and things will find that dead tissue, start boring into the actual plant because it's compromised. Most times when we're doing a PHC report, you always want to look at the root zone if you can. Yeah, same thing again. Just a teeny bit of living vascular tissue, and then 95% of it's all dead tissue around it. So you guys understand what that means, right? So if this is overwatering and we're finding a bunch of dead tissue up in the crown, to eliminate the future dead tissue, we need to stop watering it so much. So that means that probably gonna have to talk to the irrigation guy and see if he can put this tree on separate irrigation than the grass. And if this has irrigation and the grass has irrigation, then the grass irrigation might be just enough for this tree. You know, or if there's a way to separate them, put a ring around this tree and then put mulch around it, so then it's completely separated out, and then that's very controllable environment for this to live in. Right now it's not very easy to monitor the amount of water that it's actually getting, since there's turf grass growing all around it. All right, so now you can see the inside of the canopy is all cleared out, but without recommending the issue, or without recommending, you know, a future solution to the problem, then, you know, you'd come back and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, keep cleaning out the canopy, cleaning out the canopy. Eventually this tree would just have to be removed, and we would never know what the reason was for, you know, why it happened. So super important to understand what's actually happening here. So it seems like we figured it out, and I'll talk to the owners about it, and then they can be advised on how to move forward to keep their tree from actually, you know, dying, and we can keep it healthy from here on out. So take a look at the canopy, see it all cleared out, all those dead, dying, diseased branches we took out. It's looking really nice and clean. Same thing like the other one. Later on, we'll come back through and we'll shape it all out. We can take out and shape, you know, take out and clean out the outside of the canopy and pretty it up later. But for now, just a little bit of pruning. That's all we need to do. Okay, this one you can definitely see the same thing going on. Look at this. All right, here's that black tissue right here, and then here is the living tissue. So 10% of it actually is alive, and then the rest is totally dead. You know, and when it goes this far, you can definitely still save the tree, but it's really up to, you know, the owners of the property if they want to take that move. That's why you don't want to get blamed for, you know, doing a bad prune job when you did a good one and then you just didn't recommend the proper treatment to keep it healthy after you prune it. So I think PHC is like huge priority in understanding and keeping trees healthy. Without the knowledge of PHC and understanding how to keep these trees healthy, we'll just go in and do a beautiful prune job, and then the tree can die, you know, months later, and then they go, oh, your prune job killed my tree, when it was nothing about your prune job. It just had to do with the fact that it was being overwatered, or that it had some kind of fungal disease or something like that. And yeah, so a lot of variables there. I'm assuming everything's coming from the base, the root flare down here. So if we were to dig around the roots, excavate the roots out, we'd probably see a bunch of rotten spots around the roots from excess water decaying those roots. That decay starts to pull up through the vascular tissue because the plant sucks the water up from the roots, pulls it up into the canopy. The canopy branches then get infected by whatever phytophthora, you know, or fungus is inside of the roots. Now also, since there was phytophthora and I was pruning, I'm gonna actually go and sanitize my blade now. Make sure that if there is any remnants on my blade, which there's always a little remnants on your blade of everything you've pruned, but you know, you can minimize that and by spreading and being a vector to other plants just by light sanitizing the blade with some kind of a bleach solution or isopropyl alcohol. So I'm gonna go do that now before we continue. Done with a chainsaw, you can run your chainsaw blade while you're running it. Just run it and spray the chain down with isopropyl, orange oil, or D-limonene. I like to use D-limonene because it's a bit stronger than orange oil. This one actually has D-limonene in it. This is a white gardenia, little kind of bush hedge, and you can see it's just kind of grown up, and it's all over the, raise the skirt up and bring the top around a little bit, just kind of do a little shaping. Yeah, very nice. That's good. So right here, this is an allspice tree, and a few different ways you can tell is because the little berries on it, and the leaves smell like clove and cinnamon. They smell really good. It's like a big mixture. It smells amazing, like Christmas. Yeah, it smells so good. It's about a 30% prune. I'm just gonna basically do the shaping, and that's gonna be the most this is gonna get pruned today. You can just see all of the exterior crown has all these kind of vertical shoots going right straight up and down, and then there's some of this bottom canopy that's kind of sloping like this. So I'm gonna kind of like correct this bottom canopy a little bit, form it up, shape it up a little bit. My other GoPro battery I forgot to charge, so I'm probably not gonna film this one, but I'm just gonna use a notch pruner and just gonna clip away each one at a time. It's gonna take a little while, so I'll just show a little after video of what it looks like after I prune it. So here's what it looks now. Here's what it looks like right now. All right, now here's the tree after the prune, and you can see it's shaped up, and the way that there's a lot more debris, by the way. It's just Angelina's been cleaning this up. I pruned out, so here's how I started this prune. So first things first, I started with the lower canopy, trimmed out the very bottom, so I raised up the skirt. Secondly, I went around the sides and I hit all of the edges to kind of round out the tree a little bit and shape it around the tree. Then I went to the top branches and I pruned out probably 2 feet out of the top. I didn't want to start at the bottom pruning up. I wanted to start at the top pruning down. That way the top can match the bottom. All this dead wood, all that comes out after, and it cleans out the canopy and it makes it look super nice. Really cleans it all up so it looks beautiful. So here's a plumeria tree right here. This one is basically just a little building clearance. So you can see how it's touching the building right here. It's touching the building around over there. and there's quite a generous amount of this dead or diseased tissue due to the high amount of water from the grass being watered, you know, same thing just like the other ones. So I'm gonna do a little clearance right here around this. All right, we're all pruned up. You can see the clearance now around the building. There we go. And the inside of the canopy is all clean. All right, we got the dump trailer today and got a couple more to prune. Just did a PHC report on, and it has bark peeling. Part of the canopy is dying off. Here's the bark peeling canker right here. And there's bug frass in there, so probably borer. It looked like a couple little holes in there. And another indication of that is that there was some kind of probably a borer beetle, like some kind of a borer beetle is like a vector, and it's probably moving the fungal infection from one tree to the next. So I'm assuming it started with that one. And then this one, here's the gummosis. This is like exuding this sap right here out of the tree. You can see this. So this one's trying to heal itself, trying to cover it up. Some bug activity inside of the wood right there. Had trouble healing from this cut. This was pruned. You can see where it really needed to be pruned was right about there, and it was kind of pruned at like this weird off angle. Like I said, bugs can carry it into another, or your tools can carry it into another tree. Gonna trim this bamboo bush up right here. All right, bamboo is pruned up. Keep as many, this is a mango tree, so it's a fruiting tree, and you really want those branches to drape down. You don't want to eliminate all those, because then people are having to pick their fruits like super high up in a tree, and it's kind of inconvenient. So basically just removing all the dead branches, anything touching the ground. And then, I mean, this tree, whoever pruned it last actually did a pretty good job. It looks good to me. I'm just going to take out a little bit more dead wood in the inside of the canopy. You won't really see much of a difference on this one. A little bit more shaped around the edges, but overall it's just kind of the health of the tree, what we're doing right here. Right here, it's got that darkening. So I don't know if that's due to water. I don't think so. I think that's just due to little decay from it being a dead branch. I mean, branches do just die as well. You know, they get old and they die. That is another thing that just happens. Good. Suckers on the inside. These are actually really healthy for all the branches. I'm not going to eliminate any of those really. Maybe just a couple here and there that are going straight up. Get rid of those. If it's got kind of dead material in it like that, the end's all dead, it's just going to collect bugs and could eventually infect other parts of the tree. So try and pick a spot where it's not so infected, like this branch right here. This branch looks pretty healthy. We can try our first cut right there, and look at that. Nice healthy tissue. GoPro died when I was up there. It's about to die again. But anyway, cleaned up this mango tree, got a bunch of dead diseased wood out, and it's looking pretty good, nice and pruned up. Clipped out a little bit of the outside. Right here we have a PHC report, and this tree right here, as you can tell, half of the tree is dead. So if you ever have any questions and you want one of these pieces of paper, there's about 4 pieces of paper right here, and I go through everything from the actual soil and checking the pH to see what the pH of the soil is, and we check for cankers, what kind of disease, what kind of fungus the tree has, if it has enough water, enough sunlight,